With new Earth's causal matrix and upgraded logos, the run of the planetary matrix will change dramatically. Earlier, Disclosure News partially narrated its very complex multi-layered structure. See Destruction of the Black Archon's Matrix, Great Quantum Transition, Part 4, DNI, August 29, 2020. Fight for Hologram and Matrix New Galactic Ops, Part 10, DNI, April 5, 2021. Sifting, DNI, October 28, 2022. Our Noosphere, DNI, January 9, 2023. These days, co-creators have disclosed many additional and important details. Recall that in Now Terminated, the third local universe, their not very experienced Absolute, created it, as well as our planet with all its subsequent tragic history. Solely for self-knowledge, there was no question of any freedom of exit from Matrix for us. Incarnating on 3D Earth to gain new experience and knowledge, we automatically saturated the Absolute with them. We could exit the Matrix only through death in fourth local universe and on the renewed Earth. Our role is radically changing. Now, the experienced Absolute pushes us to its level of co-creators. And as such, during our lifetime, we receive complete freedom to exit the Matrix when and where we want to continue developing in other spaces and dimensions. How was the 3D Earth's Matrix managed, and what is the difference in comparison with the new one's run? To pass evolutionary or comic lessons and gain new experience, the intelligence form must be put in certain conditions that are suitable for these purposes. Co-creators place us in such an environment, a continuum, which corresponds to the tasks that our higher self and soul sets for us. To do this, they choose the appropriate universes, galaxies, and planets with specified fields, software, and loaded matrix scenarios, and send their manifestation bodies, us, there for a cycle of incarnations. So, this 3D planet has become our home for many embodiments. The matrix in which we are located is a system of holographic scenery, dynamic projection, modeling, and visualization of the conditions given to us in physical sensations. That is an illusion. But we are material, and all our actions, thoughts, and feelings are real in this virtual matrix. In the greater cosmos, there are several main classes of planetary matrices. It all depends on the level of their civilizations, as well as the capabilities of the planet, its logos, and causal matrix's operating systems, software, and codes. The higher the evolutionary capabilities of the space race, the more advanced the matrix is installed. The main parameters that it provides are the translation of the scenario, events, and the picture of the surrounding world. What are the main types of matrices for 3D planets? The most primitive is a dynamic projection, a virtual hologram in which reality and a strictly defined scenario of events are broadcast. This version is for life forms deprived of choice freedom, and technically doesn't provide interactive algorithms, the inhabitants' influence on it, its correction and modification. The second, higher level of the 3D matrix is an interactive dynamic projection, a virtual hologram. It differs from the first type, allowing the residents to interact with the matrix, change scenarios and scenery. It is usually used for intelligence forms that have a slightly wider choice freedom. And finally, the third class of the 3D matrix is the one in which we now live, an interactive dynamic holographic projection that allows us to change the scenarios of events, and with maximum choice freedom. But the main differences from the first two are that our matrix is animalized, from the Latin word anima, soul. It's spiritualized by aspects of higher entities, including Gaia, and material. Other types of matrices and holograms, decorations, are 100% virtual. Ours consists of 66.6% physical matter and energy, which enables us the info-energy exchange with the matrix, the pleroma, its supreme hierarchs, higher light entities, and cosmic civilizations. For thousands of years, Darks tried to completely block this, turning our matrix into a powerful vampiric tool for continuously siphoning life energy out of us. But the spark of the source in our souls has always remained a reliable and unbreakable channel of its vital energy, preserving free will and choice freedom for everyone. In our matrix, they are the highest, and provide various algorithms and scenarios with a floating range. Very simplistically, the difference is the same as in sports. For example, there are football matches where the outcome is 100% predetermined by the matrix. Abstracting from the so-called prearranged cases, the game goes according to its rules, with a programmed result that cannot be changed, or mingles where the score is 50%. The figure may vary, set by the matrix, and 50% is left to players. Or, at last, interactive games, when results are not planned and 100% depend on the interaction of the matrix and the inhabitants on an equal footing, with maximum choice freedom for every actor. This is our version of the 3D Earth matrix. The reality shown to us by the planetary matrix extends 666 kilometers up into space and on the same deep into the inner Earth. Beyond these boundaries, the other matrices extend of planets, star systems, and galaxies in all 14 dimensions, which, like Chinese bulls or Russian dolls, form our local universe. And when approaching the border of the next matrix, a handoff occurs. The program activates the data for an instant demonstration of the next space. How exactly was our reality and event scenario constructed? In general terms, the process resembled the creation of a movie or video game. It all started with a screenwriter who was given a technical assignment by Absolute. After the script was approved, it was transmitted in the form of information to artists and editors, who, based on it, made a film using technology similar to modern computer graphics. The finished product and all its variants were also approved by the Absolute. Then, the main version was delivered to the Matrix programmers at the system level of the local universe. They recoded the film based on the decimal code as a sequence of mathematical formulas. In this form, the flicks was transferred to the next subsystem level, where, with the help of special software, downline programmers made a new transcoding from a decimal language into a binary algorithmic sequence, a chain of binary code. This was necessary because our 3D planetary logos could not decode files and in general information created in the system decimal code. This wasn't its level, and it couldn't handle such a huge and extremely concentrated data's volume. Next, a special server transmitted a recoded file in binary code to the Earth's causal matrix. By a special device, it redecoded the information of the received file, translated from binary code into a multimedia format, i.e., as picture, an animated image. The product made by artists and editors at the system level was radically different from the version loaded into the Earth's causal matrix. It was an extremely simplified and primitive variant, since planetary matrix and reality were only three-dimensional. The files with pictures of the surrounding world were transferred separately from datasets of events scenarios. The decoded information was loaded into a special unit, which then broadcasted the movie as interactive streaming video through a network of special portals all over Earth. We received this picture, also decoding it with the help of an individual reality decoder, located in our personal logos matrices, which, in turn, were stored in the Earth's causal matrix. All these actions were not one-sided, from the higher planes to the three-dimensional, but interactive through the same channels and protocols. We also influenced the matrix and events, even if their scenarios were often written on a competitive basis by various space races, independently, for several years, centuries, and millennia. How the matrix gave us a display of reality from the main repeater of the decoded information, film. A digitized multimedia file, divided into packet segments, was broadcasted to a network of 12 server stations that were evenly dispersed on Earth. They, in turn, relayed the picture in real time, streaming video further to the global network of cluster repeaters, placed at the nodes of the crystal lattice, and worked on its energy. This whole system was much like television network with communication towers and signal transmission. We received these signals strictly selectively in one cell or another. The cluster repeater did not transmit all the information about the planetary reality, but only corresponding to a certain territory. That is, for a New Yorker on a particular avenue or street, at the moment, There was no need for a picture of some quarter. For example, in Sydney, the structure of the Earth's matrix largely repeated the local universe and worked in the mode of efficient functioning, economical use of energy and resources. Each of us was constantly registered in a certain cluster repeater, matrix cell, depending on our location, which is closer, and where the stronger signal is, and we automatically re-registered in another local system when moved to its coverage area. The cluster repeater showed us a picture of reality through constant interaction with our personal logos matrix. This is how the momentary transmission of info from the Earth's causal matrix was carried out, through a network of intermediate portals, using quantum teleportation. In it, the object, in our case, the image, was disintegrated at one point and instantly recreated at another. 3D reality was in many ways similar to modern video games. Interaction with Matrix was not interrupted while we were awake. Intercommunion was supported, among other things, by our brain. So we needed sleep so that our cerebrum could rest and Gaia could take down the information we had accumulated during the day. Of course, we didn't feel and notice it as in TV watching, or the radio listening, or talking on the mobile phone, when we don't see electromagnetic waves and channels for receiving and transmitting information. The matrix transmitted to us only a part of reality, strictly limited by our senses. Man's vision is tuned to electromagnetic radiation in the range of 400 to 750 nanometers. Each eye has an average view field of 55 degrees up, 60 degrees down, 90 degrees out, that is, 180 degrees in total, and 60 degrees in. The minimum frame rate at which we perceive an image as motion is 16 frames per second, with a data processing speed of 10 million bits per second. Such parameters were laid in the 3D matrix. It broadcasted reality precisely within these limits, no more, no less. A special block of RAM was embedded in our personal logos matrix, through which we saw the world around us in real time, backed by nearest repeater. The personal logos matrix also had an active state buffer for online streaming of the segment that we were currently looking at. Information beyond this angle wasn't available to our vision, and, accordingly, wasn't loaded into our buffer. If we watched a stationary object, it required a minimum of brain resources for processing info transmitted by the matrix, but at any moment we could turn around and look in the other direction. The matrix immediately gave a new picture, which was already ready. It was provided by a passive state buffer, or matrix cache, where complete data of the entire reality state was loaded in real time. This buffer was not in our personal logos matrix, but in the cell where we were currently registered. If we were driving at high speed on a busy highway, the matrix and our perception worked the same way, but due to the need to process much more information in a dynamic state, a data compression algorithm was used. When it was turned on, we did not perceive all the details of the surrounding world unless it was necessary. Brands and numbers of cars, details of buildings, clothes of pedestrians, etc. The same thing occurred when we were walking in a crowd, in a large mass of moving people. Thus, the safety mechanism of the matrix saved the computational and perceptual resources of our brain and protected us from the sticking. Moved to another location, we automatically switched to another cell, which broadcasted for us a local picture with a higher refresh rate, at least 24 frames per second. The matrix continuously and interactively updated the demonstration of reality in accordance with its constant changes. Using the same infrastructure described above, some settings were preserved, for example, the inclination angle of the planet's axis, mountains, oceans, seas, rivers, and other large objects of nature. The changed parameters were rebuilt or newly created objects. Houses, roads, canals, planted forests, enterprises, etc. To implement individual plots, the matrix created separate scenery with physical objects, actors, and development of a specific event. In such cases, some people could be holograms. They were easier and less energy-consuming to generate than to adjust and synchronize with the personal scenarios of living men. Often, comma lords also acted under this scheme. For example, arranging road accidents when the car was soft-boiled. Some died, some received injuries of varying severity, and some did not even have a scratch. To do this, an animated video clip was made, and the neural network, a supercomputer, calculated everything to the smallest detail, completely modeling the situation. Lords installed finished file using a one-time access code into the causal matrix, and planetary logos turned scenario into reality. In this case, for example, a car flying in the oncoming lane head-on, forcing to dodge into a ditch, could just be a hologram. Why was this done? For decoupling our comic knots, working off accumulated negativity, lifestyle changes, etc. During the cosmic night, after the invasion and total control over Earth, Darks completely rewired the planetary matrix. Its soft was aimed at dictate, suppression of free will, and choice freedom. They forcefully imposed negative reality, its system, event scenario, laws, and rules of life. The 3D matrix was tightly run by an AI with parasitic algorithms. It was a self-sufficient computer neural network built on the principle of autonomous existence. After downloading software, it self-maintained its functioning, constantly conducted self-testing, technical and preventive checkup, and self-restoring, scanning for errors, viruses, removed information garbage, cleared the cache, etc. Now, at the stage of transition from the old planetary matrix to the new one, saturation of Earth's field with high-frequency quantum energies, increasing vibes to the level of 4D, 5D and higher, the load has increased many times. Accordingly, the number of matrix failures, its hovering, breaking and reality lags became more frequent. These glitches are often fixed by means of objective control, for example, CCTV cameras, smartphones, and other devices. The main events of the world scenario were loaded into the matrix in advance, in packages for a certain period, about 2.5 years, but all of them, including long-term and even medium-term options, were constantly adjusted or completely cancelled. The current scenario has already been rewritten more than once. So many prophecies and forecasts have not come true and will never do. The new, fourth local universe is building on the basis of co-creation with the Absolute, through complete similarity to it, the absolutization of every intelligence life form. Therefore, the concept of the next Earth's matrix will be completely different, with other technical tasks, scenarios and events. On May 13th at 11:24 MCET, came the latest info on activation of the upgraded 3D Earth's Logos. See New Matrix, Part 2, DNI, May 11, 2023. Shortly before, co-creators and the ground team synchronized it with two Logos of our planet in 4D and 5D, which form a single eon. The operation was carried out in the same way as DNI narrated in Part 2, standing in a circle and tuning in each of the three Logos, one by one. Light warriors then completely synchronized with all of them. Initially, the group combined the first two in the third and fourth dimensions. After that, started coherencing of 3D and 5D Logos. The former shone with a white-pink glow, the latter with a golden light. Ops participants filled the general field with love radiations. On a subtle plane, it looked like a giant rose, with both Logos in the center and light warriors around like flower petals. The spheres of the two Logos began to rotate around each other, briefly merged and separated, forming a figure like an 8. Flashed bursted between both parts, light pulses ran across their surface. It was an exchange of energies, software, codes and settings. Soon the operation was successfully terminated. All three Logos have completely tuned into each other, bringing the creation of a new planetary matrix closer.